And welcome, everyone, to the inaugural podcast known as Nerdherfers, along with Mike Donahoe and Brent Williams. I am your host, Larry Brantley. Who are we? What are we doing here? And why in the hell is our show called Nerdherfers? We're going to get to that story in just a minute because I think Brent was the one. You came up with that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Brent came up with that, so he gets to tell that story. But real quickly, this is who we are, and this is why we're doing this. We are three middle-aged dudes who all of us, I think, would identify as nerds and or geeks. By the way, I should probably point out for our listening audience that we are currently sitting on Brent Williams' lovely patio out here on a cool but not cold February evening in North Texas. He's got his fire pit going, so we are all going to be coughing like miners with black lung at some point during the show, and that's going to be okay. By the way, it is okay to laugh. You can, you're not stepping on any toes if you laugh.
Well, first I thought you were talking about like minors, like young children.
No,
like, well,
that is one vowel difference.
Not minors.
Yeah, that is one vowel difference. So we're not doing that. So we're three middle-aged guys who come from varying backgrounds, but here are the things we have in common as middle-aged guys. We have a deep and abiding love for geekdom, fandom. We're going to talk about, movies on this show. We're going to talk, and keep in mind, we're all Gen Xers, right? We're all Gen Xers. Yep. Okay, just want to clarify that because I think Micah might be the youngest, and if I found out he was something other than a Gen Xer, I was like, well, I'm sorry, you can't be on the show.
I'll just let myself out.
You just jump yourself into the pool there and hold your breath until the bubbles stop. So we all are big fans of that. But now we're finally at a stage in life where we can appreciate things that as younger men, we didn't have the money to appreciate. That's basically cigars and whiskey. So here's how the show is going to work every week. Every week, we're going to have some sort of fun, geeky, nerdy topic that will undoubtedly go off the rails on several times during the course of conversation. But while we're doing the show, we are also going to enjoy our two favorite things, which are cigars and whiskey. So each week, one of us will bring cigars for the guys. One of us will bring a bottle. We will talk about it, why we brought it, what we like about it, and then we'll all give our opinions on the cigars and the whiskey. And this is just something that we enjoy. And while we're enjoying those things as middle-aged men, we get to talk about the shit that we loved when we were kids. So quite frankly, I can't think of a better way to spend some time. And if you're one of those people, if you're just getting into cigars or whiskey, or you don't have an interest in either, but you are kind of a geek and you want to talk about why, someone should have killed George Lucas with a shovel so he couldn't make the prequels, we're going to have that conversation too. So anyway, that is what Nerdherfers are. So we're going to just start this because I want to get smoking, you guys, because I brought the cigars for this episode, and I'm going to pass them out to the guys right now. What I'm about to pass out is a cigar by a company called My Father. This is a great old cigar maker out of Esteli, Nicaragua. And this one is called The Judge. And this is their Gran Robusto. It is one of my favorite cigars ever. So this, get a little nerdy real quick, is going to be a Sumatran wrapper.
My favorite.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is actually grown in Ecuador. Yep. And then they harvest it and they age it in Esteli. It's Nicaraguan binder and filler. It is really a delicious cigar. So I'm going to hand one to Micah.
Thank you.
And I'm going to hand one to Brent.
Thank you, sir.
I really shouldn't have had to make that sound. I didn't have to lean that far.
Have you ever watched Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law?
Yes.
Yes.
When he realizes he's middle-aged, when he goes to bend over, he makes a middle-aged grunt sound. He goes,
yes.
He's like, oh
no.
Runs into the gym.
Yes. Yeah, it's middle-aged. Now, maybe in the future we're going to have video to go with our audio.
Maybe.
So you'll actually
faces.
maybe
most of
not
us
that.
have faces
Yeah,
built for radio.
I don't. I've got what is traditionally called a great face for radio. There's a reason why I do what I do for a living, boys.
Oh, you're pretty.
Do you need a cutter there, buddy?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Do you need help getting the band off? It is childproof.
Okay, he's leaning again.
Yeah, but I didn't make the sound this time.
Wait, how does this cutter work?
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you never used a cutter before?
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm a puncher
Sure,
myself.
You're kidding.
I prefer that.
All right. So Brent is currently toasting his My Father the Judge Gran Robusto.
This thing is like a World War II fire team or something.
And you can poo-poo my lighter all you want.
I'm not poo-pooing your lighter. I'm just saying it's really loud. It's like, if I was going to go clear out a pill box.
I'm sorry.
Is it bad for sound? WW2, I would bring that lighter with me.
All right. So while we are enjoying our smokes, first of all, let's just go around a bit. So we're going to start with the guy whose idea this was. He's also our audio engineer, so any problems we have are his fault. Ladies and gentlemen, Brent Williams, I give you my good friend Brent Williams. So Brent, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you came up with this idea and why the hell you thought Mike and I should be a part of it.
Well, so I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. As you guys can tell, as you were walking through my Star Wars room in my house today.
It didn't occur to me at all.
Yeah.
By the way, while you're talking, I'm just going to randomly do that. So
clear out some pill boxes. Yeah. So, everybody who's a Star Wars fan knows the phrase Nerf herder. And once you get into cigar smoking, you learn that a herf is a group of people that sit around and smoke a cigar and whatever. So it's both a noun and a verb. So anyway, I just thought it'd be funny to switch those up and turn Nerf herder into Nerdherfers. And then that gave me the idea of that would be a cool idea for a bunch of nerds to sit around smoking a cigar talking about stuff. And I was like, two of my favorite things are drinking whiskey and smoking cigars. Not so much the people, but I figured I have to do it with people anyway.
In order to be a herf, you do need people.
In order to be a herf, you can't herf by yourself. That's just sad.
There's no single herfing?
There's no single herfing, yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be two or more, I guess. Anyway.
That's also a great song by Beyonce. It's like All the Single Herfers or something like
all
that.
The single herfers, yeah. So anyway, I thought...
the one she didn't write.
I thought I need some people, if I'm going to do this, since I usually have the personality of a log. I need
usually?
People, usually, yeah. Some days not. I'm only one scotch in. Scotch and whiskey in, so...
Wait, do you become more or less loggish the drunker you get?
I become less loggish.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Anyway, so I immediately thought of Micah and Larry because I knew Micah is like a encyclopedia of nerd stuff.
He meant that as a compliment.
Yeah, I mean it as a huge compliment. I knew we would never run out of things to talk about. And then Larry, of course, it was totally because he has a great Scottish accent. That's all I cared about. I just wanted him to sit around and talk in a Scottish accent.
That's the only reason I ever get hired for anything.
Yeah, you'll find out in a minute about Larry's background and what he does for a living. But I just immediately thought of you two guys, and I was like, if we're going to do this, that would kind of be my dream team to get this going. So.
Well, you may regret that decision, but here we are.
I do have nights where I do regret it already.
Yeah.
But
this is only our first one.
Uninvited us.
Yeah, that's true. But
just between us, though, I think Janelle likes us better than him.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, just so
she might.
Well, it's just about being polite when you walk in the door.
Yeah. Oh, you have to be polite.
Not when you're married to him. No.
I've known her since I was in high school. I mean, how polite do I have to be? Come on.
Yeah, you need to go into the piano room and look at the picture of them as children. It's adorable. He's got this baby face with like these cherub cheeks and this smile where he's not showing his teeth because he had braces.
I'm going to have to go look at that later.
Oh, it's just, it'll just make you want to put them in your pocket. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Brent, for that introduction. Now we're going to move over to my right to my new best friend, Micah. And so Micah, tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're here, and give us a little bit of your origin story, bud.
Well, there was a time when I met Brent that we would have a lot in common when it
was this in rehab?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool.
Also known as ad agencies.
Oh,
and
wow.
As we spent more time together, we discovered that we had similar interests, and as the years went on, it just became more fun to talk to him about these kinds of subjects as opposed to other people. So.
I actually cared about what he said.
Yeah. I mean,
he felt validated and heard.
He did. He gave me eye contact occasionally. I mean, especially when he would look off in the distance, he would come back to me a little bit sooner than other people. It was
who never came back at all.
And the minute I woke up, I would look him straight in the eye.
I mean, I literally have a buddy that when I'm about to tell a story, he looks at me. He's like, "Oh, God, let me get a beer."
Yeah.
So,
or do a line of Coke. Yeah. Whatever it takes.
Whatever keeps you up. But no, I started off my geek career, I guess, when I was very young. following after one of my uncles who was very heavy into Star Trek, the original series.
Oh, yeah.
And so for a good portion of the early 80s, I was spending with reruns of Star Trek, absolutely falling in love with it. And of course, then late 80s when Next Generation came out and Deep Space Nine, it just really cascaded into a whole lot of other subjects, including Firefly and then Battlestar Galactica. And it just really...
Wait, the original Battlestar? Or
Both,
the new Battlestar?
actually. So I actually did visit...
the TV show and the space opera.
Yes.
Both of them were... They were. I mean, we'll get into that, but they were completely different shows, and they were both brilliant in their time.
And I was having a lot of fun when it came to the original Battlestar. Unfortunately, only one season. Side note, little trivia for you. Each episode cost $1 million to make.
In
Back in the
1970s dollars?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh.
Holy hell, man.
That and some Buck Rogers and it just...
Oh,
it was
yeah.
just
Like
a
the
good
80s
time.
Buck Rogers
Oh,
with Aaron
yeah.
Gray? Oh, man.
Oh, Aaron.
Hello, Colonel Beering.
Got to work with her once. Very sweet lady.
Yeah.
Just show off.
All right, let him
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, that cascaded into a series of other geek genres and of course comic books my whole life and you name it. And then of course as things started to branch into whiskey and cigars, this is just a match made in heaven.
So speaking of that, you brought the bottle tonight. So I told our 3 listeners, because I just assume it's going to be the 3 of us who listen to this, what the cigar was for the evening. But you brought the bottle, so tell us what you brought.
Sure thing. So I came across this bottle only this year because
In rehab?
yes.
Okay. I'm going to say that a lot, by the way. It's going to be like a go-to
Yeah, that joke's
joke.
never going to get old.
That's going to be better than that's
No.
what she said every time.
I found this great bottle of bourbon in rehab. Absolutely.
Yes.
That's where you find all the best bottles of bourbon.
And then they say in acting you're never supposed to say no, right? or no, improv.
Yes, and.
Yes, and.
Yes.
So anyway, I came across this bottle when I was finding on one of the Google News articles that pops up when it's invading your life and trying to find out exactly what you're searching for all the time. And since
That isn't porn?
that isn't porn.
Okay,
And
got it.
as I was going through the different articles, because I search on bourbon quite a bit, looking for something new every once in a while, I found this one called Heaven Hill. And one of the reasons why I chose Heaven Hill is because one of my favorites, which we might do in a future episode, is called Devil's River. And I like the parallels in Heaven, Devil, Hill, River.
Well, hopefully you're being contrasts.
I don't know if the bourbons are.
Depends on your view, but
So Heaven Hill was founded in 1935 in Bardstown, Kentucky. Let's see. If you know anything about the company that makes it, some of their other profile brands are Evan Williams, Elijah Craig, and Larceny, which I would love to talk about.
I'm
Larceny.
familiar with all
Larceny,
of those,
yep.
yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
So these are just fantastic. And most recently, in 2023, winner of the Distiller of the Year by Whiskey Magazine. And it's being considered for World's Best competition in London this coming late March. So we can definitely talk about the various characteristics of it, but I definitely wanted to bring this particular bourbon into our first episode.
Well, I'm drinking it right now, and I got to tell you, I'm digging on it pretty hard. All right, I guess it's my turn. I'm going to have a drink here. All right, Nerdherfers. My name is Larry Brantley. I have been a performer of one sort or another for over 30 years now. I started my career doing stand-up comedy when I was 16 years old. I lied about my age. In the state of Texas in the 1980s, you had to be at least 18 to work in the comedy clubs. But I had this awesome pencil-thin porn stash. Yeah. I've got pictures.
I'm
I will
crushing
show
on
you
you already.
I will
Yeah.
show you pictures. No, I've got a picture of me with feathered hair, porn stash, and I'm wearing a velour pullover.
Oh,
oh my goodness.
I
me a
was
towel.
I was the teenage. I was like Sean Cassidy's wet dream. Anyway,
he had your poster on his wall.
he did. He did indeed. We had it like tacked to the ceiling so he could open his eyes at
Sean
morning
had
and
your
see.
poster on his wall.
Anyway, so I from there I got into, quite by accident, I got into voice acting. So in the 1990s, I worked on a PBS children's television show called Wishbone. It was my first big gig as the voice of Wishbone, and I parlayed that into a career in voice acting. So radio, anime, live action stuff that I've dubbed. I still dabble in stand-up from time to time, I entertain. It's what I do. So that is just basically a long-winded way of saying I've never had a real job. I don't know what that's like. Now, that's not true. I did work in the cigar industry for a few years. A buddy of mine owned a shop locally, and I originally, was just sort of helping him out because, as I said, I'm a voice actor, so I'm unemployed a lot of the time. And that turned into me becoming the general manager in like 6 months. And then it was just a brief period, but it did give me, my deep and abiding love of cigars. Whiskey, that love goes a little longer.
Also, day drinking.
Well, I'm a huge fan of day drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even if you're not day drinking, what are you doing with your life is my question.
My wife traditionally plays that song too whenever we start drinking before 11 o'clock.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait a minute, 11 o'clock. Now I'm judging you.
Yeah.
At least wait till noon. Come on.
No, hell no. You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning.
Depends
when are you gonna fit in
what
your
time
nap?
you get up.
That is a fact.
You get up at the crack of noon, your day starts at noon.
I'm an early riser, which typically means I'm also an early drinker. But anyway, so Brent and I met in '93 when I moved to North Texas. And we have remained friends ever since. And if you're doing math right now, that's a very long time. Now, I haven't asked this question of either of you yet. What year did you guys meet?
Oh, you're going to have to nail this one.
Oh my gosh. I started at the agency in 2000, either 2011 or 2012.
Okay.
And then you came on after that.
I did, but I spent a year. So if we math this right, I spent a year at another company and then came on to JWT. Actually, it was about a year and a half. So if it was about 2012, then it was probably about 2013.
By the way, how are the cigars going for you right now?
These are amazing. I've heard of this. I've never had one. And of course, Sumatra is my favorite.
I actually factored that.
Yeah. This is amazing. The Retro Hell is super smooth. A lot of times you get that, especially if they're really peppery, you get that harsh bite on the Retro Hell, but this is actually a super smooth Retro Hell. So.
It is absolutely smooth. And one thing that I'm going to go ahead and admit right off the bat is that the fancy terminology when it comes to cigars, I don't have as much as I do on bourbon. So, that should be a side note too. I can tell you right now that all the other fellas are going to bring various other types of brown liquor to this, but my world lives in bourbon.
Okay.
But I can definitely tell you about this cigar being just absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so we're in the first third of this cigar. Mm-hmm. What are the notes you're getting from it? Mm-hmm.
Long pause.
We all have to take a huge hit.
And that's exactly what I did.
It's not a hit when you're smoking a cigar, fellas.
I'm definitely detecting the tobacco.
Your palate is so refined.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you.
How do you do it?
I mean...
Well, I'm here to impress people. And I don't like
You're like a sommelier of cigars.
That's right. I don't like to, really spread it around too much. But
this has definitely got tobacco in it, you guys. I don't care what anybody else says.
So, Brent, I would really like to hear your thoughts on this. That'll further educate me.
I'm getting a hint of chocolate, which is, pretty typical with this.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I want to say, obviously a nutty flavor. That's pretty common.
Are you picking up the tobacco flavor?
I'm getting a little hint of the tobacco. It's like on the back of the palate. It kind of finishes with the tobacco.
Are you getting the tobacco at all? My God,
I thought you were good at this.
Is this your first cigar?
So yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of complicated things I can say. I get some persimmon. A little bit of raisin and walnuts.
And a hint of mauve, which is a color, not a taste.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was thinking plaid, but whatever.
We haven't gone plaid
here we go
yet.
again.
We have not gone plaid yet.
Here we go again. All right, boys. Well, I'm glad you guys are enjoying the cigars. I personally am enjoying it, and I'm definitely enjoying Heaven Hill? Yeah, Heaven Hill. Out of, is that Bardstown?
Yes, Bardstown, Kentucky.
Okay. I'm trying to pick out, there's this flavor in this that you don't taste in most bourbons.
Before you go any further, did a bug fly into your drink? Because that might be a taste that you get that is not in most bourbons.
It did taste kind of like protein. I am noticing that there's a serious lack of peanut butter in this whiskey.
And just for our audience's purposes here, we need to clarify that there will be a serious lack of peanut butter in our brown
So
bourbon.
almost,
happy to hear that.
When I was picking up the makings for my espresso martinis tonight, they were selling little mini bottles of Scatterbrain,
Yeah.
and I almost bought you a bottle just so you would know what it tastes like.
Aw. See.
But then I thought
It tastes like, if you've ever tasted peanut butter,
Yeah.
you know what it tastes like.
That's so considerate and unnecessary.
It's
Yeah.
actually more considerate that I didn't give it to you.
He's thoughtful in kind of a mean
Which
way, isn't
kind
he?
of proves that we like each other a little.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, boys, this is the segment of the show that we like to call Origin Story. So, and it's only going to be one time because it's our first show. But we're going to go around the table now and basically talk about, was there a singular moment in your childhood that forever branded you a nerd and or geek? And if so, what was that moment? And Mr. Williams, we're going to start with you.
All right. Well, again, my favorite of all time is Star Wars, of course. We come from the time where, when Star Wars came out in 1977, I was actually 6 years old when it came out. And my dad worked up in Prestonwood, which is a area of Dallas. And he worked in the Prestonwood Towers, and Prestonwood Mall's right there, and they've got Prestonwood Cinema.
How many more times are you going to say Prestonwood?
I'm trying to get as many Prestonwoods in as I
Fair
can.
enough.
They pay me by the word.
Fair enough.
The
Continue.
now defunct.
But anyway, so when it came out, we came from the time where you could buy a ticket and then watch the movie multiple times all day.
The good old days.
The good old days, yeah. You could even theater hop if you wanted to. Well, I guess as long as you didn't get caught. Most people didn't care. But anyway, I would go there during the summer. I would go there to work with him and have him drop me off at the theater with enough money to buy popcorn and hot dogs and stuff. And I would sit there all day and watch Star Wars while he was at work, and he'd come pick me up in the evening. Back when you could do that kind of stuff.
Let me just clarify something in your story here.
Yeah.
When this was going on, when you were spending all day in a public movie theater by yourself, you were 6 years old.
I was 6 years old.
Outstanding. Yes. That is called good parenting.
Definitely.
Yes. And so, of course, I had everything Star Wars at the house. I had the sheets. I had, my bed was Star Wars. Had every toy.
And you still do?
Yeah, I still do, actually.
Much to his wife's chagrin.
Yes. Matter of fact, I'm wearing Star Wars underoos right now.
Are they from the 80s?
They are from the 80s.
Wow.
Excellent.
They're a little tight.
That's why you're talking so high pitched right now?
Yeah, and it may be just the waistband.
So when you change your underwear, your voice is actually going to drop down into normal?
Change underwear.
Oh, right.
What
Sorry.
am I talking about?
Who does that?
Yeah. No, anyway.
Okay, that's going to be
so
your two
how did I-
defining characteristics.
how did
We're
I-
just going to let you.
How did I feel? Well, so I was the kid who couldn't wait to get home and play with my Star Wars toys, and my dad had a Super 8 camera. So I used to take my figures and make my own little movies with the Super 8.
Gosh, I want to see these.
Of course, they don't have sound. They didn't have sound, and who knows where they are at this
Did
point.
he have one of those Zapruder cams?
Yeah. It was just the little 8mm and no sound type of thing.
Tell us
And
about your
every
silent film.
video was like 30 seconds long because that's as long as it could last,
Yeah.
right?
Ran out.
ran out of film. But I think it was probably when I got to middle school, and I was also playing violin at the time. And I think that's when I realized I was a super nerd because everyone called me that. So I heard the word nerd a lot. So I just decided to embrace it.
Definitely.
And I found a bunch of nerd friends. And we were friends all through high school. And I just, like I said, I've always just kind of embraced it. I've never worn it as like a scarlet letter on my chest. It's always just been kind of a badge of honor.
You know what? That's important too, because I don't know about you fellas, but I remember when I was in junior high and high school and stuff, people were saying, "Oh my God, you're so weird. You're such a geek. You're such a nerd." And the best thing that you can do, as advice we can give to anybody out there, is to really embrace those things. Like when somebody say, "God, why are you such a geek?" And I'm like, "Because geeks are awesome."
Yeah, we are. We're
Also,
pretty awesome.
when you're a geek and you're in middle school, you know how to use throwing stars. So people,
that is we don't talk about that nearly enough.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but where'd you buy them? Vicon Village, maybe?
No.
Asian World of Martial
Maybe.
Arts online,
Yeah,
not
mostly
online because
online.
it didn't exist.
Mostly-
Out of a catalog.
I was
There
going to say,
you go.
mostly out of a
Philadelphia,
catalog.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, mostly out of a catalog. But so that's what we would do after school is we'd set up pieces of plywood and get our daggers and throwing stars and
Oh God!
Pretend
See,
we
at
were
least
ninjas.
you guys
Yeah.
at least set up like a target. We had a carport with a wooden wall at the end, so if you hit it, you know you parked too close.
Yeah.
And I remember chalking an outline of my Uncle Terry, and then just throwing my stars and shit at the wall. That did not go over well at home.
Well, we didn't have plywood
But
when I was doing it, man.
when
just
you
used
were growing
people.
up, there was no plywood.
Yeah, it was just
Well,
stand
we
right by
found-
the garage and let's see if we can.
We would find plywood like behind the Kmart or something,
Ah,
and then bring it home. On our bikes,
Oh, you were one of the bad boys.
drag it home. Yeah.
Going behind the Kmart. Well, thank you for that, Brent. All right, Mr. Mike, I'm going to go over to you now. Is there a moment in time, a singular moment in time you can remember when it just became very clear to you that this was, your love, your passion?
yeah. So when I was a kid, I had an uncle that was heavily into Star Trek, the original series, TOS.
So it runs in the family.
It does, and I was enjoying that so much that I caught up on a lot of reruns so that I could really get into it and make myself knowledgeable because I wanted to have intelligent conversations with him. And as time went on, then my world started to branch into the greatness of the early 80s. So when it came to, The Last Starfighter, Tron, Krull, these were moments that really, really captured like my geek interests and started to expand off into more. So, and obviously, I have to say that, well, not obviously because you don't know me, but Star Wars, Star Wars was a really big deal for me as well. Except being slightly younger, my interest fully expanded when it came to Empire Strikes Back, and honestly, that's not a horrible way to get into Star Wars.
No,
Not at all.
not at all.
So that's how that all launched for me.
Outstanding. So very similar. I do believe I'm the oldest man on the patio. I know I'm the oldest man on the patio.
You don't look it.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
I was 10 in 1977, and I didn't plan on that being the moment that I was going to discover that I'm really a geek at heart, because my cousin Steve and I, so we were living in the Houston area at the time, and my cousin Steve and I had contrived this magnificent plan. We're both 10 years old, and we told our parents that we wanted to go to the Greenspoint Mall Cinema to see Benji Comes Home. Now, if I'm being honest, we weren't really going to go see Benji Comes Home.
What?
I know.
Oh my
Shocking,
gosh.
But there you are. The movie that we planned to sneak into was a rated R movie called The Deep with Nick Nolte and Jacqueline Bisset. And the reason that we were going to do that is because we had heard in school a couple of our friends had snuck in to go see The Deep, and they said that there's a scene in the movie in which Jacqueline Bisset gets out of the water and she's wearing a flimsy white t-shirt and no bra and no bikini, and you can see her boobies. And at 10 years old, I don't know how you guys felt, but I was all about boobies at that point.
Well, I'm thinking we're all feeling the same thing.
So we we convinced our parents, which by the way, I thought I had bad parents because they were dropping us off at a mall on a Saturday and we were 10. And by the way, Greenspoint Mall in 1977 was nicknamed Gunpoint Mall. It was not a good place to drop two 10-year-old boys. Nevertheless, they put cash in our pockets and change for the payphone. And
You and I have two different definitions of good parents and bad parents.
So in we go when we purchase our tickets to Benji Comes Home, and now we are ninja-ing our way down the corridor. And Steve was ahead of me, and he was so excited. And I passed by this theater, and the doors were still open, and the movie was just starting. And I chanced a look to the left to see what was on the screen because it was rumbly and it was loud, and there was this wonderful music score. And I saw a great big triangular-shaped spaceship, and it was chasing a smaller spaceship. And without quite knowing that this had happened, I veered off and I walked into the theater, and it was completely packed. And I walked all the way down to the front, and I sat in the one seat in the front row that was available. And that was my first experience watching Star Wars. And we watched it. Well, I watched it 3 more times that day Steve watched it twice with me because he actually did go to see the Deep and freak out when he looked around and realized. And by the way, it took him a full 2 hours to realize I was not with him. So my cousin,
he was just watching the screen intently.
My cousin's situational awareness was
didn't know-
never
yeah,
great.
he didn't know- he didn't know when that scene was
Jacqueline
coming.
said,
He was like,
Jacqueline,
that's
I mean,
fair.
Hello.
So
Could be any moment.
So I
Can't look
got
away.
out of the theater and went into the hallway, and he's like, "Man, what happened? You missed it." And I'm like, "Oh no, you missed it." And I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and I drug him back into the theater, and we watched Star Wars 2 more times that day. Now, just point this out. By the time we've watched the last showing of Star Wars, it's night. No one has come looking for us. No one.
I mean,
Apparently
to be fair,
there was a barbecue going on. Everybody was having a great time.
Oh, I was going to say, to be
They
fair, your
had
parents
to
were at the
get
bar.
my Uncle Bill, who was not sober, but the least drunk of the family, to come and pick us up after we had to call them because no police came looking for us, no mall security guards, no one who worked at the theater was walking through yelling our names. They just thought we were having a good old time at Gunpoint Mall. But I'll never forget the sense of wonder at watching that. Now, I had seen other science fiction movies and television before, you know, Lost in Space and all the stuff I used to watch on TV. But that was like the first time that I thought, this could be real. Like, because it was gritty, right?
Yeah.
It was like maybe the first sci-fi I'd ever seen that wasn't super gleaming,
It was all
chrome
like,
and
yeah,
clean.
and
It was used. It was worked over. It
Yeah.
had some mileage on it, right?
Mhm.
And from that moment on, I was done. I was absolutely done. So for me, it was the age of 10, and I never looked back.
I want to say Star Wars was my gateway drug.
Well, you know, I think it was for a lot of us.
Gateway drug to what?
to geekdom.
To geekdom. I mean, I fell in love. I mean, shortly after that, I was into The Hobbit and all that kind of stuff too, and I just became a total bookworm. Couldn't get enough. You know?
Who needs
Anybody need
to
a
top
top
off? I just topped myself off.
All right.
Because I wasn't waiting. Oh, look at you, you generous man. Thank you so much.
He didn't want to take the bottle home.
So while you were getting the equipment set up, he said, "It's very possible, you guys, we're going to finish this bottle tonight." And I said, "Very possible? It is probable."
Well, I know next time I'm bringing a full bottle.
You weren't drinking that on the way over here?
Oh no, that's
I
what he
mean,
was doing.
no.
Question mark?
I mean,
Michael,
No.
hey guys!
we don't have a polygraph around here anymore, do we?
you never take me alive, copper.
No, officer. I was swerving because I was drinking.
And it's pronounced ossifer.
yes.
I only-
thank you. Plus, I was texting and
Yeah.
putting on makeup. It was a whole thing.
By the way, we need to pause for a second. We were probably well into our second third on this cigar.
Easily,
Mhm,
yes.
definitely.
So it's time for some tasting notes again.
Yes.
Here we go. Dramatic pause while we all.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm definitely picking up on the tobacco. Wait, you saw that coming. That's why you started laughing at the time.
A mile,
Oh, my
like
gosh.
you couldn't have telegraphed that more if you'd actually sent an actual telegraph.
But I know everybody that's listening would actually know that that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Well, I'm getting more spice in the second third.
for sure. So this is a Nicaraguan cigar.
Right.
And one of the reasons I love Nicaraguan cigars is precisely because of that peppery sort of that just it's something in the soil. It's why I'm less inclined to love cigars from the Dominican Republic, although there are some that I absolutely do. Casada and Casamagna, love them to death.
And just for
Fact-
clarity, real quick, when you say Nicaraguan, are you talking about the filler?
So everything in this cigar that isn't the wrapper is from Nicaragua.
Okay.
So the binder and the filler.
Because I've actually heard that sometimes they do some mixing.
100%. That's
yeah.
what blending is.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a wrapper that they grew in Ecuador, and then they shipped it for curing and aging to Nicaragua. And then they've got their other tobacco. I just think my father is one of my favorite cigar brands because everything they put, so La Opulenza, The Judge, obviously, number 2, they're just they blend cigars as good or better than just about anybody out there. That's a fact. Now, in future episodes, I'm going to bring you guys some stuff that I've actually had you try before, that are from boutique blenders that they don't have their farms. They have to buy their aged tobacco from whoever is selling, and then they have to blend. But some of these guys really know what they're doing. So the guys at Roma Craft are fantastic. The guys at Ovea Negra, both Texas-based blenders, by the way. So at the first third, you talked about chocolate. I'm still getting that, but it's not chocolate anymore. It's cocoa.
Yeah.
I was just going to say.
I was going to say that. Yeah. It's definitely more cocoa and definitely way more spicy. Like the retro hell now is way spicier than the first third.
Well, that's because the fire is closer to the draw.
Okay. So my inexperienced palate, I'm kind of getting some coffee notes.
So let me stop right there. So just like wine tasting, your cigar palate, it's totally subjective.
And there's no wrong answer.
And there's no wrong answer. It's what does it taste like to you?
Yep.
Right?
100%.
I feel included.
And for anybody out there who
You're
is
validated,
listening,
Micah. We love you.
Yeah.
We love you, Micah. You're one of us.
So for anybody
Yay!
out there who is listening, that we are not snobs here. Now, when it comes to geekdom, totally.
Yep.
We'll fight each other all day on that stuff.
I have throwing stars.
But as do I. When it comes to cigars and whiskey, it's true. It really is subjective. It's like I've never, even when I was in the industry, I would never poo-poo anybody who really loved a cigar or liked a cigar that I personally didn't care for. Smoke what you like, drink what you like. What makes you happy? Also, don't be afraid to try new things.
Definitely.
Because even at our age, I'm still finding new stuff to love. Yeah. And that's just part of what makes it so great, right? It's like I was okay. I was in Cigars International earlier this week, and I'm walking through, and I found myself going exactly to the place that I always go. And I was like, wait, hang on.
Now, is it a specific brand that you're like a section?
Oh, yeah. Like I get kind of locked into brands for a little while, and then I won't get off of them. And I have to make myself, right?
Yep.
And part of what helps me do that is, I subscribe to a lot of cigar blogs. Guys are out there trying stuff. So like Half Wheel and Cigar Snob. I have a member. I get Cigar Aficionado because they're going to tell me about things that I probably need to try. I may not love them, but I might. And I'll never forget, the old adage of you can never hit a home run if you don't step up to bat. Mm-hmm. So this week I found myself in a bit of a rut because before I knew it, I had 6 cigars in my hand that I've smoked 100 times.
Right.
And I was like, all right, 3 of these are going back and I'm going to try something I haven't tried before.
And that's one of the cool things about this show too, is that since we've decided to have each one of us bring the stick and one of us bring the drink, we don't know if these are actually going to pair.
Right.
So as we're sitting here drinking this bourbon and enjoying it, how do we all feel about this particular cigar pairing with this particular bourbon?
So for me, it's a home run. It's absolutely
Excellent.
a home run. So that Sumatra wrapper is. So that's where you're getting. The wrapper of the cigar is primarily, though not completely, what you're tasting.
Well, it depends on the size of the cigar.
It does. The reason that I like, and that you bring up a very good point, because this particular blend is available in several sizes, and I've tried them all. This Gran Robusto, in my opinion, is the perfect size for this blend.
I think this leads into a good thing for you to talk about here too, is that the different sizes that we're talking about. You could be smoking the exact same cigar in various sizing, and you're going to experience different notes and finishes.
Right.
100%. So,
well, because the smaller the cigar, the more the wrapper is going to influence what you taste, right? Because there's less filler in there.
Do you guys ever smoke Lanceros?
Oh yeah,
I haven't.
absolutely.
I love Lanceros for that reason. If you find a Lancero with a good wrapper, but a lot of guys don't like to smoke Lanceros because they're long and they're thin and they feel like they're effeminate. And to those guys, I say you're missing out.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Because a Lancero in a particular blend might be the best thing you've ever smoked.
I feel that same way when I try out like Virginia Slims.
And I also have my Corolla DeVille holder that I like to use.
You know what? You just want a cooler smoke sometimes. Don't knock the longer smoke.
That's right. Especially the menthols.
You before we started recording, you wanted to talk about, was it like Desert Island films, or it was films, TV shows, books, or something like
Oh my
that?
gosh, you are so off.
Am I really?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
well then
Well,
would
then
you
bring it back
enlighten
around.
me?
The words desert island never came out of my mouth.
That's in my mind
This man
all
has
the
never
time.
done improv. That's right.
I'm
Clearly.
sorry. Yes, that's
Clearly.
exactly what I said. No, I was talking about, it might be fun to talk about our favorite fandoms as far as like books, movies, video games, that kind of stuff. But,
So pick one of those and let's run with
well,
it.
I think we've already done books. So,
Well, have we though?
I don't want this
Well,
episode to be 4 hours long.
And
so.
that's what the great thing about this
Well,
episode
that's what
is.
editing is for.
And the great thing about this episode is touching on these various subjects that we'll get into more depth when it comes to episodes that are a little bit more structured on one specific topic or
Fair.
something.
I find it's funny. The older you get, the less you like talking to people, but the more you have to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I do,
Because
yeah.
we like to hear ourselves talk.
That's right.
Also,
we want
yes.
everyone to know how smart we are because we're old.
That's true. We have a
I
lot.
I don't think
We have a
people-
lot to share.
I don't think people should listen to us because we're smarter, because we're older. I think people should listen to us simply because we're older and we survived.
We're the feral generation.
We are indeed the feral
we
generation.
know how to be by ourselves. We were the last feral generation. I mean, they had to remind our parents that we weren't at home at night. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where
Do
your
you know where
children
your
are?
children are? Yeah.
We went outside in the morning and we, depending on our friends, if we needed lunch, we'd end up at a friend's house and get a sandwich or whatever, drink out of the water hose. I mean, we took care of ourselves.
As long as you were home before the lights came on.
Yeah, by the time
on
the street lights are on, you were home.
Agreed.
You know.
And I would also like to point out that when we were kids, if anyone in our friend group had a peanut allergy, we would leave them to die.
That's right. we would hold them down and force feed them
We would
peanuts.
just abandon
just to see what happens.
That's true.
Okay,
That
so-
is true.
so
God damn
just
it.
so you know,
that is so true.
In contrary to what you both said, when somebody had a peanut allergy and they're starting to experience the effects of it, you just wait it out. Because the more you eat those peanuts, the more you're building your immunities, right? I mean, that's how it works, right?
I don't know. We're not doctors.
Yeah. By the way, we
Oh,
should.
sure.
Let's just say that we are not experts at anything. So
Please do not take our advice.
this is not the podcast to listen
Yeah,
to
please
if you're
don't-
looking
and
for
also
like
Don't watch your
genuine
friend have
advice.
Yeah. Also,
an allergic reaction.
please
Yeah.
don't do what we did because I hear it 10 times a day. I can't believe you survived this. Right.
And yet,
And yet
Well-
here I am. I mean, we used to do dumb things. We were also a very curious generation. I mean, I've told you guys about my friend who had a house on a hill, and we would go to the peak of his house with an umbrella and jump off to see if we floated down.
We use trash bags.
Yeah, no, we used umbrellas.
I never did this, but how did that go?
Well, they
Probably
were broken.
about you the way you thought.
I would say there were broken limbs.
Yeah.
That happened. But we did all kinds of dumb things when we were kids.
I can appreciate that. There were moments when I was watching some sort of a movie or that somebody was flipping a knife in their hand and everything, and they were having a great time. Well, I ended up getting my hands on this buck knife that had the Boy Scout logo on it. I was never a Boy Scout, but I had it and I flipped it out and I was in my bathroom and I'm flipping around because I want to watch myself in the mirror, be cool. And then it drops down on my left index finger, which you guys can't see right now. But after that moment, I hit something that caused me to bleed for an excessive amount of time. And now, to this day, on my left index finger, I have an arrow of where the blade came down and sliced.
Nice.
That's cool.
And so now, when I point in certain
cool.
directions, I know exactly
Yeah, I'm impressed.
which way I'm pointing.
That's what that.
You just got some street cred, bud.
And
Thanks,
that,
man.
well, but that's our generation. It's like, oh man, you made yourself bleed hard and then got a scar. That's cool.
And I'm about
But-
to pass out, and I'm
Let
like
me ask you
hanging
a
on the
question.
sink, and I'm bleeding into the sink, and
Let
I'm
me
just
ask you a
like on
question,
my
Micah.
knees.
Did you stick it in dirt?
Did I stick it in dirt? No, I was in my bathroom. So I actually, under my counting,
You could have
under
gone
my
outside.
counter, unlike a lot of people these days, I had a massive bottle of iodine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I took this shit and I just went all over it.
And
I'm
that's
like,
why your index finger is a different color from the rest of your body.
actually, that's why I still have my index finger.
Yeah, ours was stick it in dirt. We used to play this game called Stretch Armstrong. We'd go get knives, and you would stand face to face, and you would throw the knife in the ground at the person's feet, and they would have to stretch to get it, and then they would throw the knife at you, and you would have to stretch, and you went until the person fell over, or there was a knife in your foot. One of the two.
It's like Twister, but with knives.
Well, incidentally, if you've ever gone onto YouTube and looked up what bullets do to Stretch Armstrong, the actual toy, I was starting to wonder why the military didn't employ those as body armor, because it takes a lot to make it through Stretch Armstrong dolls.
Like on, you ever watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yes.
When Scully and Hitchcock, the mob boss is coming after him, and they're in a wing sluts. You know, it's their favorite place, and so they strap canisters of the wing slut sauce to their front like body armor, and they come out and the people shooting them in the wing slut sauce is stopping the bullets.
Fantastic.
It's great.
I have to look that series up because
it's hilarious.
So my daughter is a junior at Pace University in New York City. She wants to be a writer for television and film, and she just burned her way through the entire series of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And she loved it.
Yeah, it's so funny.
She cried when Andre Braugher passed away.
Yeah.
She cried.
Spoiler alert for those that haven't finished the series, by the way.
He died a year after it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the actual series.
All right.
I didn't mean to sound so heartless there. I just meant, the series had already ended when he passed. But
rest in peace, Andre. We love you, bro.
Yeah, he's one of the best characters on that show. He's hilarious. I love that man.
So should we discuss?
I want to find out what that tasting note is in the whiskey.
Yeah,
it's something different. Like every bourbon I've ever had, they all have similarities, right?
Yeah,
because you make bourbon
the way they're made.
Yeah. There's something different about this.
So this one in particular, when I first started tasting it, there were three different characteristics, and I'm sure you can look it up online and find which ones you can go for. But the specific ones that I tend to focus on are the nose, the palate, and the finish. I know that there's probably a couple other ones in between there, but in particular, this one, as most bourbons do, I get a lot of the vanilla on the nose. I get a lot of the vanilla and the caramel right up front. Right?
I definitely get the caramel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not unexpected because it's a bourbon, right?
Right.
So, but right off in the background, I'm getting real big hints of like leather, tobacco, and honey.
See, maybe it's the honey because it's kind of sweet. It's kind of the after, the
right, but it's not on the front.
It's not on the front. It's like when it finishes, there's a hint of sweetness to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to what you said, leather, because I had to create a term for the taste that I get in some whiskeys, and I call it tack room.
Okay.
So I grew up on a farm and a ranch in the hill country, and the tack room is where you keep the saddles and the bridles for the horses, but it's also where you keep the feed. So there's this kind of grain smell. And that's what I'm getting from this. It's actually very soothing to me because that's like my happy place. I clearly remember every time I walked into the tack room, there was a very specific smell, and it was so comforting to me. It was that worn leather smell, but with a little bit of hay to it, just a little bit of musk to it.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, so I smelled it and I was like, like, have you ever just been like at a point in your life where you're so tense and then all of a sudden you're able to exhale?
Yes.
And all the tension runs out and you're like, this is way better. When I smoke a cigar, that I get that hint of tack room. It is the best, man, because it's like, okay, I'm going to be smoking you for a while, buddy. Yeah, we're going to go get a box of you. And I'm not even the kind of guy that likes to smoke a box of cigars like
at once.
I like to, well, I almost did that last night. We're not even going to talk about that. I like to try stuff, right? But man, when like, there's certain notes, right? Certain notes.
Okay, so now that we've talked about the nose, and I'm thinking that some of the conversation that we've had has kind of intruded on the palate, but I would like to talk about the palate.
Go.
So, so when I'm experiencing this particular bourbon, this Heaven Hill bourbon, you know, when I first started researching, you know, how you're supposed to detect these flavors and work your way through the different flavor profiles. I've heard expressions that there are different forward notes.
Yes.
Okay, so in this one in particular, I'm feeling more of a spice forward note the further I go along. So everybody take a little bit of a sip. And so and not to make parallels on what I did before with the cigars, but honestly, as I'm getting this spice forward note on the palate as I'm swishing it around in my mouth, I'm actually picking up the tobacco. That's not a joke from before, but actually it is, but it's not. But also, to your story previously, hints of leather.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And then
I'm getting the spice, definitely.
Yes, and then on the back end, as it starts to taper off a little bit, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a little bit of butterscotch.
Ooh,
interesting.
Are you?
Yes.
I'm not, but
yeah, I don't get that.
So vanilla. So this is what I love about this particular bourbon, man, because I love variety, and when you can get variety in a matter of seconds, it's even better. So you got that vanilla on the nose, and you're absolutely right. As soon as this shit hits my tongue, it's spicy.
Yeah.
Now I would call it baking spice.
All right.
So so every fall going into like Thanksgiving and Christmas, my wife bakes. She is a baker.
Oh yeah.
But only for about 2 months out of the year, which has nothing to do with your bourbon. But
Yeah, sorry.
All good. There's no derailing
There's going to be
here.
there's going to be a lot of going off the rails.
What the hell? I don't know. I mean, for all we're talking about right now, it totally integrates into the bourbon, right? Because as we're talking about the various notes and the flavors that we're tasting, it ties into memories like you were just talking about a few moments ago. So, did everybody speak towards the palate discussion? I mean, like as it's sitting on your tongue, those are the spices that you're picking up?
I did, yeah.
So when it comes to the finish, that's the one thing that's the last thing I really want to talk about when it comes to this bourbon. So on the finish, after everything ends and Larry is in that moment where he's experiencing the finish.
Yep.
Larry's in the tack room.
That's right. So to the spice conversation that we're talking about, what I'm getting is cinnamon and caramel.
Cinnamon for sure.
I think the caramel's there always.
I would like, so I get what you're saying with caramel, but I'm going to go with creme brulee.
Ooh.
Burnt sugar on the top.
Which parallels to caramel.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So speaking of finish, perfect segue into the final third of this cigar.
But before you do that, finish on the bourbon.
I thought we were finished.
No.
You were saying caramel
He
all the way
talked about
through.
the finish. I talked about the finish. You haven't talked about the finish.
Yeah, caramel.
Okay.
All
right, cool.
That was pretty easy.
Moving on.
Moving on.
I thought I was pretty clear in that, but
Shut up! I'm moving. All right.
anyway.
All right. Final third
final
of
third, here
the
we
My
go.
Father the Judge, you guys.
Yes.
Give me your opinion. We're all puffing right now.
Still spicy. The leather is very strong now.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Also the tobacco. Well, someone had to say it. You were just sitting there.
Wait. In rehab? In rehab?
Yes, in rehab. And I was waiting for my moment. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm still getting this coffee. I'm still getting this coffee piece
fair
to
enough.
it that I'm
so
really,
the thing
really
you have to
enjoying.
remember
But a
is-
smooth coffee.
So this is the part where my wife, who does smoke cigars with me, cashes out. And it's because the fire is too close to the draw, right? For those of us who love cigars, we power through. And this is one of the cigars, the one that I gave you guys tonight, My Father's Judge, where I will literally burn this thing down to my fingertips.
Oh, I know I'm going to get there.
Because I don't lose my love of the cigar. Yes, it changes, but it doesn't become bitter. I got a one for you right here, buddy.
Thank you.
It
Fire,
doesn't
actually.
there are some cigars where I get to the final third and there's a bitter note. Not bitter in a good way. Not bitter like it's a Negroni and you're sitting on a rooftop bar in Milan overlooking the Palazzo. So this is one of those cigars that
Thank you.
I can burn all the way down. And I'm doing that right now.
And I'm right there with you because having never actually had this one before, I'm experiencing those same parts.
This is your first to judge?
This is my first
so
to judge.
happy.
And it makes me happy. I mean, that's what's going on with like the bourbon and the cigar
I'm
at the
so
same
happy.
time. I love the fact that none of you have had this particular bourbon before.
Can I just tell you that when I wake up close to noon tomorrow,
on this patio,
I'm 100%. Janelle's going to be so pissed. I'm totally going and getting a bottle of this.
Fantastic.
Because I
good stuff.
really, really have enjoyed this.
Yeah,
a
I was
lot.
thinking by the next time I would just show up with an extra couple of bottles
And
of
that,
donation.
look, we need to have this conversation in the first episode. We're all not going to love everything all the time.
Right.
And I believe honesty is key.
Definitely.
He says that with a smile on his face.
I do.
As he should.
But like if it ever happens that I bring you guys a cigar or a bottle and you don't like it, I need you to tell me.
Yeah. That'll be the last time we ever see Larry.
Also, yes. But because I like you did, I'm sure. Like we're gonna put thought into this, right? Part of all of this, and by the way, for those of you who are listening, Brent and I, even though we've known each other since 1993, we haven't been in touch a lot until very recently.
Yep.
And Micah, I literally met, a month ago?
Exactly.
So we're still figuring each other out.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, right? Because old friendship versus new friendship, you're going to experience different things. You're going to get different versions of honesty.
True.
Wait. Hold on a second. Different versions of honesty?
Oh, yeah.
Are you saying there's different versions of truth?
Totally. Your own personal truth.
You're one of those people.
Oh, God.
We got
Where's
things to
Christopher Hitchens when we need
We got things
him?
to talk about.
Well,
You left us too soon.
Look, if we're gonna be completely honest, I mean, as we're starting to learn each other, I mean, Brent and I have known each other for a while. Larry and Brent have known each other for a while, but Larry and Micah haven't known each other for a while.
You know one version of me. Larry knows another version of me.
That is so true. But look, that is also richness, right? Because we're not the same guys we were in 1993.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hope
By
not.
a long shot.
and our honesty is going to.
Those guys were kind of dumb.
Our honesty is going to evolve.
By definition.
A little bit. Our
Yeah,
honesty is
agreed.
going to evolve, right?
Agreed.
Because as we get to know each other a little bit better, we'll become even more comfortable, and we'll be even more honest.
Micah, put your shirt back on.
You know what? My point is that I think that we all come to this table with certain preferences and flavor profiles that we enjoy so much, right? And as we've gone along here, I mean, I've shared a bourbon that I truly enjoy.
Which
And
is gone now, and I'm really sad.
I know. Next time I
I'm
will double up.
literally so sad.
Let's go.
Right
I have
now.
espresso martinis in the kitchen.
Excellent.
I'm going to go for the scotch, but bless you.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that.
Seriously, I looked at my glass just now while you were saying that, and I was like, oh, it's empty. And have you guys ever seen the movie called Brian's Song?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Why do you got to bring the party down?
Well, because that's how sad I was. I was like,
Let's start humming the theme to Brian's song.
God damn it. I'm so sad.
That'll be. I'll work that music in. That's what we know. That's what we know when the drinks are gone.
That's So everybody can expect that every time we're about to finish or empty out every bit of liquor that we have on the table at the moment, we're going to play a really, really sad song in the background.
And that's the end of the podcast.
Because we really want everybody to come down on a sad note
every time.
That's right.
Like life, like real life.
We ran out of booze and cigars. We have nothing else to talk about.
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry, but we're at the end of our podcast because we're out of liquor and cigars. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode because we're all going to go into a corner and cry.
Yeah, I have to be totally honest. The whole reason I wanted to start this is because I couldn't afford cigars. And I wanted you guys to bring me cigars.
That's fair.
Mission accomplished.
That is fair.
Oh, and bourbon.
By the way,
It's like
I
Brent
know
never
for a
brings the
fact-
bourbon to cigars. What's
I
going
know
on?
for a fact he's lying his ass off because I've seen his humidor. So he is not hurting for cigars at all. In fact, he has a cigar humidor that looks like a wine fridge.
Oh.
Yeah. I have a small box that sits on top of my bar.
Yeah, I've got 2 boxes, one for flavored, one for unflavored.
Okay, and well done you,
Yeah.
because that's the way you should do it.
We don't want to
You
cross-contaminate.
do not want to cross. But like he was like, "Oh, I want to show you some of the cigars that I've rolled recently." And he opens the door and I'm like, "Seriously? You're bitching about not having cigars?"
And it's important to note in this particular episode that that out of all of us and the various cigars we're going to bring to the table is that Brent is actually growing his tobacco and rolling
That is true.
his own cigars.
That is true. So this
So-
very evening, Brent took me into his sanctum sanctorum and showed me the young seedlings of the tobacco leaf that he is currently growing. Here's my hope and my dream is that we do this long enough to where we're going to sit out here one night and we're going to have cigars that Brent grew himself,
Definitely.
rolled himself, aged himself, and then you and I are going to go, you could do better.
I was about to say, you guys are never going to
That
tell me
is-
those because
It's like you put in 50% of the effort. I don't know.
Or he's going to jump the gun and he's going to harvest what he has and roll the world's smallest cigar that we're going to attempt to smoke.
It'll be a-
Why the shit is all green?
yeah, I had this new marketing concept.
No,
it's called the one hit cigar. The one hit
The
cigar.
one hit cigar.
That's it.
oh my God.
That was a
gonna be
real
so
laugh, everybody.
rich.
That was a real laugh.
Yes. Real laugh, hiding pain.
Oh,
Yeah.
good stuff.
And on that,
Oh,
I
snort!
snorted. I
Yes!
did. I snorted.
All right,
I
Larry,
snorted.
it's
I can
over.
die.
Damn it.
I think it's time to say goodbye.
That's right.
I think it is. Well, listen, you guys, thank you very much for listening to the inaugural episode of Nerdherfers. We are going to hopefully be doing this again. This is a podcast that we're doing for sheer joy, and I don't think there's enough of that in the world right now. There's just not. You know, we want to. We are guys who are. We have families and we have jobs and whatever, but we're doing this for the sheer joy of being in each other's company, enjoying the things we enjoy, talking about the things we love to talk about. So I hope that some of you are on board with us. We look forward to building an audience. We look forward to hearing from you directly. So we will eventually have a way for you to communicate directly with us.
We do already. Nerdherfers.com.
That's right.
Nerdherfers.com.
Yeah.
Or
Or on Instagram, Nerdherfers.
Or Instagram, Nerdherfers.
Or on TikTok, Nerdherfers.
Well, apparently we've
Or
got
on
all
Facebook, Nerdherfers.
we've got all the social media covered. I had no idea because I'm literally sitting next to my friend who is so ADHD that he didn't even have the fire going tonight. So the fact that he's done all the other stuff is just amazing.
Yes.
But,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming along on the ride with us. We hope to see you again soon. We hope to hear from you. And in the meantime, be a nerd and get involved in a herf. And we'll talk to you next time.
Live long and prosper.
All right.
Fair enough. And did you make the sign?
Oh, yeah.
Boom! There it is. All right.
So now I play the Brian song theme.
Do it.
Yes.
Do it.
Oh, as we cry out, as we cry.
the hands of time.
This has been a production of Nerdherfers, copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No portion, and I do mean no portion of this broadcast may be used without permission. Please visit nerdherfers.com for more information and full legal disclaimer, you nerd.
Hand in hand we choose the moments that should last.